What is up everyone, Nick here, and in today's video we are going to be taking a look at the Creality K2 combo. This is a quick review of the Creality K2 Pro alongside the Creality filament system, which is their version of a multi-filament system. And we'll also be covering my experience with the K2 Pro's big brother, the Creality K2 Plus. But before we get any further into this video, I did want to state that Creality did send me the K2 Pro and the K2 Plus free of charge. However, they have no control over this video and they'll be seeing it at the same time as you guys. And with that out of the way, let's take a look at the K2 Pro's specs alongside its features. And we'll also check out its similarities and its differences to the K2 Plus before we check out my experience and thoughts using these machines. Right off the bat, the K2 Pro has a max build volume of 300mm cubed and a max printing speed of 600mm a second, while also having a max acceleration of 20,000mm per second squared. It also has a max nozzle temperature of 300 degrees Celsius, a max bed temperature of 110 degrees Celsius, and a max chamber heater temperature of 60 degrees Celsius. Because yes, this 3D printer includes a chamber heater. With all those max temps, the K2 Pro is pretty well configured for advanced filaments that require high temperatures. The K2 Pro and K2 Plus are both Core XY style 3D printers and use a dual Z-axis drive system, one on each side of the bed gantry, guided by 4 precision linear rods to ensure stable vertical motion. The K2 Pro also features an auxiliary cooling fan on the side of the machine, while the K2 Plus has 2. And both 3D printers also include carbon air filtration. Both 3D printers also have an AI camera on the tool head for auto flow rate calibration, as well as a second camera to view your prints and make time lapses. Both the K2 Plus and K2 Pro also feature a touchscreen for the display on the 3D printer, along with RFID scanners on the side of the machine to be able to detect different Creality filament spools. Honestly, outside of a few small differences hardware-wise, like the additional fans and the K2 Plus's ability to reach higher temperatures, both of these 3D printers are basically the same except for their build volume. On the one hand, we have 300mm cubed with the K2 Pro, and on the other hand, we have 350mm cubed with the K2 Plus. That might not sound like a lot, but honestly 5 centimeters makes a huge difference once you start 3D printing bigger prints. That pretty much covers all the specs, so now we're going to dive into my actual experiences and thoughts on the K2 combo, starting with the unboxing. The unboxing experience is pretty similar to any modern 3D printer these days. It comes very well packaged to make sure that the machine doesn't get damaged in transport. So a lot of the work into getting the K2 combo ready for its first print is simply unscrewing all the supports and unscrewing the CFS so that we can actually remove it from inside the 3D printer to get it ready. This means that while our 3D printer is in top shape when we get our hands on it, it also means that there's a lot of waste, since these brackets aren't actually of use to us after the unboxing. But once everything was unpackaged, it was just a question of screwing the door in place, attaching the touchscreen, and attaching a few extra things for the spool holder and CFS to get us ready for our first print. But of course, before we could actually do that, we had to calibrate our machine. The process takes about 15 minutes and it's fully automated. The process features multiple calibrations like vibration compensation, cutter calibration, and auto bed leveling. For my first prints, I decided to print the preloaded files on the machine, starting with the Multicolor bend sheet. Creality was nice enough to send me a few different filament colors, including some pretty funky ones that I decided to use for this print. And honestly, it turned out pretty good. No visible imperfections outside from the usual hull line, and the text on the bottom is super clean and readable from the insanely smooth first layer the K2 Pro managed to put down. You can also just about make out the text on the back of the bench sheet. Along with the clean overhangs and bridges, I'd say this bench sheet turned out pretty dang good. Ow. The next 3D print I decided to run on the K2 Pro was this neat little scraper, which is used for removing 3D prints from the build plate. Honestly, not much to say about this one outside of it being quick and easy to print. And it turned out pretty good, and I'm pretty satisfied with the top layers on the scraper since they turned out really smooth, which means it doesn't really cut into your hand when you're using it. And once I got done printing these, I finally started slicing my very own 3D files. And for these test prints, I made a point to use the default profiles that the slicer offered. So that means I didn't customize the filament profiles, and I didn't customize any other settings for my 3D prints. And to test out these profiles, I decided I would begin by 3D printing the Torture Toaster by Hotmakes. This is used as a benchmark to test out different tolerances and overhangs, and this one came out so good. This was all 3D printed in a single piece, and as you can see, all the parts move and articulate just fine with some excellent bridging. The only issue that I encountered while 3D printing the torture toaster is that some of these pins here for testing tolerances fused at the 0.2 mark. The 0.5 and 0.4 moved just fine. The 0.3 I had to apply a bit of pressure to break off, but the 0.2 and 0.1 are just fused in place. And then I moved on to some slightly bigger prints with this super cool Iron Man faceplate that I 3D printed out of Polymaker silk bronze filament. This 3D printed in just a handful of hours, and I just used the generic PLA silk profile in Creality print. The inner details aren't all perfect since I forgot to support a few of them. That's on me, but I'm still really happy with how this print turned out, especially with the consistency of the silk PLA's appearance. Silk PLA can be really dependent on the temperature and the print speed that you're using for its surface quality. So the fact that the print has a very consistent metallic sheen to it shows me that the print profile is on point. And then for my next print, I decided to 3D print something absolutely tiny compared to the faceplate. I 3D printed this Bionicle mask, which I 3D printed at a 0.08mm layer height. This is a Bionicle Kanohi mask of a character who's pretty niche if I do say so myself. If you recognize Variki, you're a real one. I won't lie, this mask was pretty difficult to print because there's a lot of teeny tiny details like the lightning bolts that need supports. But with the default support profiles, they came off relatively easy, and I was able to support the lightning bolts and remove them without damaging them too much. Next up, I 3D printed a few Iron Man arc reactors out of silver PLA, starting with the Nanotech arc reactor at 0.08mm layer height. And thanks to that layer height, the details came out really crisp on this. For the following arc reactor, I decided that I would add a bit of color to it. So I 3D printed it using the silver PLA, the bronze silk PLA, and some gunmetal PLA. The colors were pretty easy to paint on in Creality print, and the results are just impeccable. There's next to zero bleed between the different colors, and we managed to successfully combine regular PLA with silk PLA filament. So after doing quite a bit of testing with regular PLA, I figured that we would start 3D printing some different filaments to see the results. Starting with PETG. I 3D printed some of these identity disc blades out of transparent red PETG from Polymaker, and I was pretty blown away with how easily the K2 combo handled these overhangs with just a generic PETG profile, since PETG usually doesn't really handle overhangs that well. And with PETG being such a success, I figured we would 3D print the exact same 3D model but out of TPU to make it easier to hold in the hand. And this was an absolute disaster. No matter how I fed the actual TPU into the 3D printer, it just would not feed correctly and it would lead to jams. Initially, I just put it on the spool holder on the side and fed it directly through the PTFE tube. And after a few jams, I removed the CFS from the top, I removed the glass, and I just fed the TPU directly into the extruder without any PTFE tubes. That way there would be no friction causing any jams. The good news is it was fairly easy to disassemble the extruder to remove the jam. Now apparently there are mods that you can do to the extruder to reduce the tension of the spring for the filament going into it, and that reduction in tension is supposed to make it way easier to 3D print TPU. But considering the cost of a 3D printer like this, it's not something you should be tinkering or trying to upgrade. It should just work. And honestly, this 3D printer's biggest fault might just be the fact that it can't 3D print TPU. In fact, if you take a look at the specs on the website for the Creality K2 combo series, they don't even list TPU as a compatible filament with the series. So I can't really blame the machine for not being able to do something that it's not advertised to do. But again, when we consider the cost of this machine and the fact that it can already 3D print some pretty exotic materials, the fact that it can't 3D print a basic filament like TPU is a bit of an issue. So now let's move on to another filament, ABS. To test ABS, I 3D printed this super cool Dr. Doom mask that I found online, and the results were pretty interesting. First off, there was no warping, at least when it came to the actual bed adhesion. The bed adhesion of ABS and ASA on the PEI sheets included with the K2 Plus and the K2 Pro are just insane. They have by far the best bed adhesion of any 3D printer I own. If anything, the adhesion is a bit too good, since even when they cool down, the prints can be really difficult to remove from the build plate. But honestly, this may have been one of my better 3D prints out of ABS just using the default slicer profiles. Usually I find that ABS and ASA profiles always need a bit of tweaking to get really good prints, but this one wasn't half bad. That's not to say it was perfect. You can still see weird deformed overhangs from where the print curled upwards during printing, but that can easily be solved by slowing the print down a bit and decreasing the cooling fan speeds. You may have also seen that there are zits all over this print. print. Now here's why. That's because the ABS I used was insanely humid. I've had this roll of ABS lying around for a while, and I guess it just picked up quite a bit of humidity. And that's why we have all of these zits across the 3D print. But it did get better as the print went along. My only guess is that the heat generated by the 3D printer while 3D printing ABS crept up and heated up the air inside the CFS. So that, combined with the desiccants inside the CFS, ended up drying the filament a bit. One more thing I wanted to bring up with you guys is my experience using Creality's slicer software, which is called Creality Print. And it's basically just a reskin of Orca Slicer and Bamboo Slicer. When it was first introduced, it had a lot of quirks and a lot of issues, which led to a lot of problems when 3D printing. But as time has gone by, they've introduced quite a few updates to the slicing software, and it's at a point where it's actually pretty decent. Now, it's not 100% perfect. There are still a few little issues that I would like improved, but the updates, as well as the firmware updates for the 3D printers, has definitely improved my overall experience 3D printing with these machines. And I also just realized I kind of glossed over the CFS, which is the Creality filament system, which is basically their own version of a multi-filament unit. And honestly, that's because it just works as is. I haven't had any issues with jamming or feeding the filament. It just prints. And personally, I'm not really into 3D printing in multi-material or in multicolor, but I did find a really good use case for myself personally. So you might have noticed these white parts I have on my desk. These were prototypes for different helmets that I was 3D printing. And I ended up using Creality's Hyper PLA in white to 3D print these. But I was running out of filament on one spool. I think I had about 100 grams left or something like that. And I figured instead of letting it go to waste and throwing it out or using it on a smaller part, I would just use all of it and switch to a different filament after that roll was empty. And the CFS was able to do that automatically since it was able to recognize the RFID tags in the spools. I have been looking for a seam on this part and I just can't find it. That's how easy the transition was. So that pretty much covers my experience with the K2 Combo series. So now let's get into my recommendations and whether or not you should get your own. Personally, I think that these machines are very good, they print of a high quality, and they're very well made. But that doesn't mean that I think that everybody should race out to go get one. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, if you're looking to get into 3D printing and you're looking for your very first 3D printer, I don't think that these are the ones that you should be going for. Not because they're bad, but because they're very big investments for somebody who's getting into 3D printing and doesn't know if they're going to be committing to 3D printing long term. So I would instead check out 3D printers like the Creality High Combo or the Bamboo Lab A1, and we'll give you a good feel of what it's like to 3D print before shelling out the big bucks for these machines. Now, if you're somebody who's experienced with 3D printing and is looking to get another machine, then these are definitely some models that you should consider. And even more so if you're looking to 3D print some exotic materials like ASA, ABS, or even nylon. Now, if you are a cosplayer or somebody who thinks they're going to be 3D printing a lot of large parts, then that's even more of a reason to consider getting these machines. Now, your budget and how often you're going to be 3D printing large parts are going to be the last two factors in deciding whether or not you should go with the K2 Pro or the K2 Plus, since they are effectively the same machine, just with different build volumes and different price tags. And if you're interested in picking up your own, Creality's Black Friday sale is live right now. You can get up to $1,500 Canadian off on the K2 series, so if you've been thinking about upgrading your 3D printer, this is the perfect time. Just head over to the official Creality Canada store, links in the description. And that pretty much covers my review of the Creality K2 Combo series. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. A huge thank you again to Creality for sending me these machines, and I will see you all in the next one.